Welcome back to part 2 of What If Shallot Was Canon? And last we left off, Goku was about to face off with Prince Vegeta. Goku would get in his stance and ask Vegeta if he wanted to surrender and come to their side. Vegeta exclaimed that he was on the side of the true Saiyans and his pride. He then scoffed and bolted towards Goku. Goku would take a breath and dodge while gripping Vegeta's arm, throwing him. He would kick Vegeta in the air and Vegeta would lose his cool and expelled a huge evil aura, throw a barrage of ki blasts. He would become aggravated and charged a Gallic gun. Goku would then charge a huge Kamehameha wave going into Kaioken. They would enter a beam struggle. This would be in Goku's favor. He would then overpower the prince. Vegeta would climb out of the rubble and would try shoot a blast at Gohan with Raditz, would hit Vegeta with his own ki blast. The prince would recover again, throwing a white ball in the sky. And Raditz, knowing what it was, would freak out with the two hybrids being there plus Shallot. Goku would be confused until 5 great apes rose. The hybrids would then attack each other. Shallot and Raditz would have a small grasp on the form, overpowering Vegeta. Once they held him down, for Krillin would have threw a Destructo disc at his tail, which sliced through his tail and following up towards the hybrids as well. While Shallot and Raditz would revert naturally, Vegeta would fly towards his pod in desperation of fleeing. Raditz would try to throw ki blasts at the Saiyan's pod. Goku would just tell him to forget about it. They would then plan their trip to Namek. Bulma would use Raditz and Nappa's old pods to build a ship. She would also use Kami's old ship to make an extra ship. As she built the ship, Raditz trained with Piccolo daily, while Goku would train with Shallot finally wearing the Jiroshi. Gave him some months back. He would be prepared for the trip to Namek, with it ultimately becoming the day of their departure. With 2 ships having gravity chambers, the 4 main heroes would split 2 and 2. With Goku and Shallot would go in the first ship, and Raditz and Piccolo would go into the second ship. As the 2 hybrids would go with Krillin and Bulma. Raditz would have become better at the mental training Piccolo taught him to do, as Shallot and Goku would sharpen their martial arts skills. Once they made it to Namek, the teams would have split, having different objectives. The hybrids team would search for the Dragon Balls. Raditz and Piccolo would defend the Namekians and eliminate the Jinyu Force. And Piccolo, learning of his Namekian heritage, he would still fuse with Nail, so he could fight Zarbon and Dodoria. Raditz would have to use Kaioken ×2 to defeat Zarbon. After watching Vegeta get demolished, he would throw him into a nursing capsule and leaving him running into Gohan and Gabe, and told them to babysit Vegeta. Gabe would get angry, but they were gone. Before he could say anything, Vegeta would awake, snapping at Gohan, with Gabe snapping back saying Raditz told them to babysit the prince. Vegeta would nearly lose his mind and would storm off after getting his Zenkai boost. The boys would follow behind him, with Gabe cursing Vegeta and his cocky ways. Vegeta would snap at Gabe and Gabe would punch him square in the face. Vegeta would charge a ki blast in his face. Gabe would just smile in the face of death. Gohan would deliver a strong jab to his stomach. Vegeta would have begun to cock back a heavy blow until he was stunned by the spiking power. This would alarm everyone on Namek. The spike would have been revealed to be Shallot charging up his ki. He would then charge at Frieza, causing them to clash. The shockwaves would throw Frieza back, causing him to go into his 3rd form. Vegeta and the boys would rush over to watch in awe. Vegeta would grit his teeth in anger. The 3rd form would overwhelm Shallot. He would ultimately go up to Kaioken ×5. This would make him get into an even battle. He would be tearing his body apart as he fought. Goku would be itching to fight Frieza. Shallot would be sent flying onto the ground. He would be heavily strained. Goku would smile at him and charge at Frieza with everything he had. Seeing how strong Frieza really was, he asked the others to stall until he charged a Spirit Bomb. Raditz, Piccolo, Gabe, Gohan, and Vegeta all fought Frieza. Frieza would have to transform into his final form, beating on all of them. Goku would nearly be finished with the attack, until Frieza would just lose his patience. He would lose interest and would shoot Gohan and Piccolo in the heart with a death beam. Goku would stop charging the attack and would be engulfed in anger. Goku would create a crater where he stood, with his hair flowing gold and pure anger in his eyes. Vegeta and Raditz would exclaim Goku was a Super Saiyan. Frieza would lose his cool and begin to blow up the planet. Goku would tell Gabe to get Dende and make the wishes on the Dragon Balls, while telling Vegeta and Raditz to leave. Goku would fight Frieza with less mercy. And once everyone left the planet and it was about to explode, he would lend Frieza energy. He would then leave. He would spot Shallot and grab him, and they would end up on Yardrat. They would awake and be greeted by the Yardrats starting their training. Goku and Shallot would learn instant transmission. With Shallot learning for a spirit vision and mastering it, he would also learn Super Saiyan. Meanwhile, in the future, we enter a world where androids reign over humanity, making everything day a living hell. The 4 remaining heroes would be Ranch, Gabe, Gohan, and Trunks. Gabe and Gohan would mentor and train the 2 teens from when they were kids. One day they would go out looking for survivors and would run into the androids. The androids would face off against Gabe and Gohan as Trunks and Ranch evacuated the survivors. This would leave Gohan without an arm, and Gabe would grab him and they would retreat. Trunks would then come up with the idea of the time machine. And once it was complete, Gabe and Ranch would set off for the trip to the past. They would make it there and would run into Frieza and King Cold. Gabe would go Super Saiyan and would kill Frieza, as Ranch did the same towards King Cold. The Z fighters would be speechless. The 2 Super Saiyans would then approach the Z fighter. Raditz would compare the girl to Launch but wouldn't go any further than that, as Gabe stared at the man with a high brow. They would then pull the Z fighters aside to the heroes' landing spot. As the future warriors said, the heroes would appear right in front of them. Goku would immediately hug Gohan. Shallot would fist bump his son greeting him, Vegeta. And Raditz would be shocked seeing as Shallot was a Super Saiyan as well. The future warriors would pull them aside and explain everything. When everything was said and done, the warriors would get in their ship and disappear into thin air. Goku and Shallot would tell everyone of what awaited them in the next 3 years. With that, they would start their training. Shallot would start training with his son. He would sometimes train with the others while Goku trained Gohan. After spending time with Launch, Raditz would start his training with Piccolo. He and Vegeta would clash from time to time, and with them eventually becoming Super Saiyans. Same with Gohan and Gabe. Goku would eventually come up with the idea of taking Raditz to Yardrat to train. Raditz would accept and begin his time with the aliens. Shallot would begin meditating and would communicate with the man he sees in his visions. Like Vegeta, he left into space to clear his mind and train. He would run into a man named Zaha. Zaha would tell Shallot he reminded him of a man he knew. Shallot would shrug it off and go about his business. He would run into the man again. He would eventually get to know him, and they would begin to spar for about a month. Shallot would tell Zaha he had to return to his family. Zaha would ask where was he from. Shallot would say he is Saiyan from Earth. This would confirm his theory, though he would keep it to himself. Shallot would then invite Zaha to Planet F, with Zaha accepting. After the 3 years passed, the Z fighters, along with Zaha, would await the androids, and this is where the second part of What If Shallot Was canon. Like and subscribe.